Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be working on the F150. This is the Power Stroke. This is the 2019 3-liter Power Stroke diesel. This truck has been amazing for us so far. We are going to put together some videos and do some content. Some people are still curious about this diesel. I really wish Ford didn't get rid of it, but they did. The only modifications we've done to it is we have added the power steps, which are amazing. These things are a game changer. Right now, we are going to put a lift kit on this truck and wheels and tires. The lift kit is going to be a ProComp 4-inch lift with ProComp ES 9000 shocks. I chose the 4-inch lift because according to my calculations, it would provide adequate lift to level the truck and give it enough clearance for my chosen wheel and tire combo. I did not want an excessive amount of gap in the wheel well. I went with Nitto Ridge Grapplers 35 1150 R20s. I spec'd this hybrid tire for light off-road use, occasional overlanding, and all-weather performance. I was also looking for a smooth factory-like highway ride. The wheels are 20x9 fuel Contras with a +2 offset. I bought this combo from Custom Offsets and I was really pleased with their communication of the order, the status, and it was very nicely packaged. Ultimately, I did not want to kill my fuel economy and overall performance of the truck, keeping in mind I'm working with 250 horsepower and 440 foot-pounds of torque. Well, we've got the ProComp 4-inch lift kit. We've had this lift kit for a while. It has been sitting in our barn, the workshop. There's been a lot of other projects going on, so as you can see, all the dust and the dirt, which I think is fine, it's just the boxes. But inside, got all brand new stuff. So we're going to get started. I'm really not going to do a how-to on how to install a lift kit. Basically what I'm going to talk about is, this is the before and the after of this truck. And then we're going to go do some fuel economy tests and see how this lift kit really affects this F-150. This thing is amazing on fuel economy. The best we've returned so far is about 29.5. Sometimes if you really watch what you're doing, I can squeak 31 miles to the gallon out of this. Normal day-to-day driving, we're about 26, 27, 28. Let's go take a look and see what it says right now. See what kind of mileage we have currently returning. Vehicle is on, okay. There we are right there, 25.2. That's not terrible. And then you can look at the fuel gauge at the top, and 523 miles until empty, and we're still over 3/4 of a tank of fuel. This truck holds about 25 gallons. So let's put a lift kit on it and see what that does. Hey, it's good to benchmark before we get started. I'm going to get a rough measurement here, 36.5. Write that down on the front. 36, 1/2. 39.5. So that's that rake that everybody talks about from the factory where people want a leveling kit, whatnot. So the difference between 36.5 and 39.5, we're looking at about 3 inches. So this rear of this truck is about 3 inches higher than it is in the front. This particular F-150 is the long bed though. So this has the 2-piece drive shaft, and it has a slightly longer bed. So I don't know on a shorter or a normal Super Crew if the rear is about the same height or not. I'm not sure. Maybe some people can comment on that or measure their own trucks. But so we're going to do the lift kit, get into this, get this installed. Just a quick note, this is the rear spacer for the rear axle that goes. So you basically remove the factory rear spacer that's by the leaf springs. And then this is the one that's provided to provide the additional lift. So in a few minutes, once we get everything out of the box and get this truck disassembled, I'm going to measure the difference between the two of the spacers. And just a quick note, drive shaft vibrations can be an issue. So if you notice on this spacer, there's an arrow pointed forward. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's an arrow. So that means forward when this gets installed. So these are right and left specific. This has a slight taper. So it's narrower in the front and wider in the back. And what that does, that sets your pinion angle for the rear drive shaft to hopefully eliminate vibrations, which we've had vibrations on this truck from the get-go from Ford. I ended up taking this truck back numerous times under warranty, and ultimately they replaced the whole rear drive shaft with a brand new one, and that fixed our vibration problems. So hopefully this lift kit does not mess with the rear drive shaft, but let's get this installed and we will find out. Never had one of these apart before. I was kind of tugging on this a little bit, kind of started prying, and it separated, but it didn't want to come off. So I'm looking at this cap, and apparently it's a little tiny dust cap. So you just take a screwdriver, get under it, tap it with a hammer, tap around, and eventually wiggle this little dust cap out, just like a trailer bearing on a boat or an RV or something. And there is a 13mm nut that was holding this hub. So 13mm nut comes off, and then grab the hub assembly and wiggle it, and it comes off. This is the vacuum actuator and the wheel bearing assembly for the four-wheel drive. And how this works, you can see the teeth that actually engage the front wheel itself. This would be the bearing, and this would be the wheel. So this collar right here with the teeth moves in and out, and it engages or disengages the front wheel. So see me pushing on it, and it's done by vacuum. So it allows the front end to be connected or disconnected when the vehicle is either in four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, or when it's required or not required. So kind of cool how that works. It can be problematic, but it's a very simple system if you do have to go in here and repair this or replace the hub or the unibearing assembly. I do see a little specific little O-ring that goes around to seal stuff out, so that's probably pretty important that that doesn't get damaged, and we don't want to get dirt or contaminants in here, so we're going to set all this aside. So it's just a quick note, and anybody wondering on F-150 hubs, how they work, how complex is it? Not very. Just take your time, pull it off. The next morning, been working on this F-150, trying to get this lift kit in here. Worked on it till the mosquitoes came out last night. So let's see what we got going. I've got the rear cross member loosely bolted up, got the front cross member loosely bolted up. So all that stuff went pretty good. The only problem I kind of really struggled with was this front differential. These things are heavy. They're full of oil, trying not to dump the oil on myself. I should have taken these brackets and attached them to the differential itself first. I did not. I hung them from the vehicle, and I tried to push the differential into the bracket, and it was a little tight. So it took a little wrestling, got it, and got that mounted in there. Right now everything's loose. We're going to tighten all the front cradle and the rear cradle and get it bolted up flush. So this gap will be gone. Once the cradle's bolted into place, that's going to locate this bracket, and then I have to drill 2 half-inch holes and then through bolt this, which ties this to the frame. this horn that's behind here. This is the original frame bracket for the driver's side lower control arm. So you do have to cut that off, and then the lift kit ties all that back together and it lowers the lower control arms down, obviously, for the lift. They recommended go ahead and bolt the control arms in place before you tighten everything to make sure that it kind of self-aligns. So that's what we got going on. Start tightening all these bolts, and here's a better picture. You can kind of see that rear bracket. Get everything tightened up, then we'll be able to put the drive shaft back in, get these control arms bolted up, and then see if we can do a little bit of a garage alignment and then get this thing down to the alignment shop. As you can see, we still have quite a few parts laying here. It's really cool. As I've been working on this, the instructions were pretty good, and most of the time they will actually call out the part number of what bolt pack to use. And if you can't find the part number, I found that on this bag it actually says 5/16 by 18 by 1 hex head bolt. So it tells you what's in the bag, and on the instructions it'll actually say use a 5/16 by 1 inch bolt. So a few times I've had to actually look at the bag, read the description, and it's like, okay, they're talking about these or they're talking about these. So if you just read the instructions, take your time, pretty self-explanatory. And so I'm going to get to tightening all this stuff and see if we can get this thing on the ground, get some tires and wheels on it. All right, now that I've tightened the rear cradle up flush with the sway bar mount, this is the bracket I was talking about. So it gets bolted. There's two little cutouts for the two little bump outs that are on the factory frame. So you want to make sure it's pushed all the way up. And then I'm going to mark each hole, and I'm going to drill these two out with a 1/2 inch drill bit. And then through bolt it. They give you a nut tab that goes on the inside, and then you through bolt it. This ties the rear cross member to the factory frame. Well, there it is. Got the front end all buttoned up. Zip ties put in place. Brake lines, wiring, brackets. Went ahead and pressure washed under here a little bit. And I may need to take a look at the crash bars. So we'll reevaluate those in a second. We got the kit installed. Everything looks good. I'm a little worried about the crash bars. These are not 1250 tires. They're 1150. And then based on the offset, and this is a 4-inch lift, I'm trying to get away with having to not have to remove the crash bars. So we're going to go ahead and test fit this tire and wheel combo and see what we get. This is just something I've run into over the years when you get these brand new, like cadmium plated or nickel plated, wherever they are, lug nuts. They will sometimes, after moisture and washing your vehicles with soap, they will start corroding to the wheel studs, and then you can't get them off at a later date when you want to rotate. So I put just a little bit of anti-seize on the threads, and that seems to work pretty good for me. So we don't have that problem in the future. Get these stickers off. 35 1150 by 20s, and they're E-rated tires. These are the Nitto Ridge Grapplers. I've never had a set. I keep hearing wonderful things about them, so I'm gonna try them out. Now, picking this dude up. Sometimes I can get under them like this. like that. Help use your legs and your thighs. Saves on your back. And I'm not using the big impact gun, I'm using the little one. Get them started. As you just saw, got her on the ground. We're gonna pull it out here in the yard and see how level it is. But for right now, let's see what we got. And we're at 43 and a quarter. 43. Let me measure this again. Yeah, 43 and a quarter to 43 and 5/16. So it is 5/16 to a quarter of an inch high in the back. So it's got a little bit of preload to it, but to the visual, sitting out in a parking lot, it's gonna look level. So let's back this thing up and see what we got. Okay, this thing looks awesome. I'm gonna take it to the alignment shop here in a few minutes and take it for a test drive. I think it turned out fantastic. All right. Here we are on the side of the road. Apparently, inner valve stems on your tire and wheel combo, that can be a problem. There is a fix. We're gonna talk about it in the next video.